Okay, just want to shoot a quick video here. Here's my cylinder. Okay, I just want to show you something. Another way to skin a cat here. Okay, so you get your dial caliper here. You got an end on here. Let me see if this shows up. Where in the heck are we here? Okay, you want to use that end of it. See where that tip is coming out? So we'll go ahead and take a measurement here. And you want that right up against the wall on your squish. And I'm coming up with 2.833 right there. Now we'll turn it 90 degrees. And I'm coming up with 2.833. Now we'll turn it 90 degrees. Do the same thing. And we're coming up with 2.835. And finally, we'll do the last quadrant here. Let's see if I can get this sucker on there. This one's a little tougher because you got that radius right there. Okay, I got it squared in. And you got 2.835. So there's only a few thousandths difference on this cylinder. Now some of them, you know, you go into Chinese cylinders or whatever, they're all over the place. Okay, so you see a lot of these guys, you know, especially on these forums, they go in there and they'll take this on a faceplate, 4-jaw chuck, and they'll machine this. And there's nothing wrong with that. But what you can do, and I don't have one to fit this cylinder, but just in your mind's eye, you can take a block of, just imagine this is a block of wood, and it's turned down flat to this diameter, slightly under, maybe a thousandths under, close as you can get to this diameter where she'll go in. And you drill a hole in the center while it's in the lathe, and you put a rod in there. And your rod will go into your drill chuck, okay? And when you put this in here, I mean, you don't want this thing whipping around. You want to make, it's got to be dead nuts where it's running true. And that's going to be tough to do, but it can be done. And you take this and you put some real fine abrasive paper on there, maybe 1,000 grit. And you come in here with some oil, turn on your drill motor, spin it just a little bit, take it out. Clean everything off, blow it out, and come back and take your measurements. If you want everything to be dead nuts, or if you want to reshape it, then you can come in, take that off, and you can put some Scotch-Brite on there. Now, I don't like using Scotch-Brite. Doing that, I'd rather do the sandpaper, because, and there's a reason why with the Scotch-Brite, but, so basically, you have your squish dead nuts. Like on a cylinder like this, where it's only a few thousandths, to be honest with you, unless it's a racing saw or something like that, and you're trying to get that last 1%, it's not necessary. So, let's say this saw's got 30,000 squish. And I go in there and I take 2 thousandths off the top. Okay? To clean it up. This is totally true. You go in here and it's every quadrant, every place around this cylinder is dead nuts. Okay? Now, if I took off 2 or 3 thousandths to square it up, let's just say 5 thousandths. I took 5 thousandths off it. Now I get in there with my caliper here and I check it like I just did. It's all dead nuts. when you bolt this on, your squish is going to be a little more. So what you can do is use a thinner base gasket. So I put this thing back together, and I was at 30 thousandths. I before I did anything, I checked it with the cylinder on here, and let's just say it was 30 thousandths. And I went in here and did what I did in the beginning of the video. I made my little mandrel. I sanded it out. I put it back on, and now instead of 30 thousandths, it's at 34 thousandths. Okay? I like about 30 thousandths, 27 to 30 thousandths. So, I mean, I have two options. I can take this cylinder and I can machine some off the base, or I can just make a thinner base gasket or send it out to Cometic. You send them this gasket and you say you want this gasket's 19, 20 thousandths. You tell them you want a 17 thousandths base gasket, and that's it. You don't have to machine this. You don't have to machine this, and you're at 27. Now, if you want to go to 20. Okay, you can have them make you a gasket that would be, if you're at 35, the stock gasket is 20, and you want to be there, then you would put a, let's see, 35, 20, 15, you took 5, so you'd be running a pretty thin gasket, or almost no gasket at all. If you want to get to 20,000 squish. Some guys like that, some guys don't. I prefer 27 to 30 thousandths personally, from experience. I'm not saying 20 thousandths is wrong or right, but you got to remember when you take off or use a thinner base gasket, you're dropping all your ports. And I showed you the picture of the port map, okay? And this is giving you what your dimensions are on that cylinder, okay? Now, to me personally, to set this thing up in a 4-jaw chuck, to come in there with a boring bar to clean it up, I can do 10 of these cylinders like this, or you can make a mandrel with a cutting tool, and you can cut it by hand. By the time I get this thing dialed in and indicated and all that, I could do 10 cylinders with this mandrel. No doubt about it. It's gonna come out just. And I can also, if I want, with this mandrel, I can change the shape. I can leave the squish corner, but I can go in here a little bit more into the top of the head, and I can radius it a little bit and maybe increase the volume by a cc or two, if you want. Now, like I said, that's the way I do it. I mean, and I'm just telling you right now, there's guys out there. Everybody's talking about these degree wheels and these numbers. Okay. It's a reference point. That's all it is. You know, oh, well, if I bring this exhaust to 101 and my blowdown is 18 and this, and I do this, it's going to turn into a bullet. Well, no, because you have to do everything else to the cylinder. You have to have the intake, the cylinder, and the exhaust. Everything has to work as a combination. Just because somebody gives you numbers, you think that you're just going to go in there and grind to that number, slap it together, and it's going to be a bullet? Well, maybe. I don't find that to be true. I mean, I guess what I'm saying is there's guys out there that could take this cylinder and look at it and do that, do a little work here to this, do a little work to the intake, a little work to the exhaust, and a little bit clean up on the transfers. They know, they have the model figured out. The carburetor, what they got to do, bore the carburetor, change the jets in the carburetor, put the intake on there. They got the exhaust, and they can take this cylinder off a stock saw, and 15 minutes later, with these mods done and these mods done, put it together, and that thing's ripping. It's ripping. So there's nothing wrong with using a degree wheel. But there's so many guys out there saying that it cannot be done without a degree wheel, and you're full of shit. All right? Well, I hope this helps some guys out. I'm not really going to go any more in depth than what I did, because there's a lot more to it, a lot more. Once you get this port map, you have to convert stuff over. But all this has been done before. It's all been figured out. We have computer programs, whatever. These guys saying, well, yeah, but the forum guys, just look at. let me just ask you a question, guys. Can you beat a computer at chess? I can't. I mean, if I have it set up about 2,000, 2,200, yeah, maybe I can beat him. But if it's, Deep Blue or Fritz or whatever, you can't beat it. And it's the same thing with these cylinders. You measure everything out, you get a port map, and you either run the numbers by hand at the RPM that you're building for. And this is what a lot of guys are missing. I got to shoot for an RPM. See? This is from the factory. You'll see like a modern saw, 9,500, 10,000 RPM. Well, I got to shoot for, let's say, 11,000 RPM. I'm going to need these ports to change a little bit. Or sometimes not much at all. In order to get this thing to run. And by grinding to a number, it's going to get you close, but you're not going to get the best saw that you can get. The only way to get the saw to run and to flow at the RPM you target for. That's the thing that these guys are missing. You want to build the engine for this RPM. So if the stock saw puts out 6 horsepower at 9,500 RPM or puts out 6 horsepower at 10,000 RPM, okay, you can flow it and make it make more torque really without doing that much to the ports at all. But you want to target it so she runs, say, 11,000 RPM. Okay, you have to build it. It has to, the volume, the velocity, everything has to flow at that target RPM. And you'll find that if you do that, you're going to make a heck of a lot more power. And most importantly, I'm not so much after the horsepower. I want the torque. I want it so when that guy leans in, he's got it wide open and he dogs in and he pulls, that sucker eats. And that's what I want, and that's what I shoot for. So I hope this video helped you out. Not trying to get too long-winded, but I mean, this is the basics right here. I'm giving you some ideas. I think in previous videos I've showed you a couple books. You've got, these are some decent books. I don't know if I showed you this one. Two-stroke performance tuning. This one's got some formulas in here. And you can do this all by hand, or you can get some computer software. And the nice thing is you can, once you get your dimensions measured and input into the computer, you can widen that exhaust port by a millimeter, 39 thousandths, 19 thousandths aside. And you can plug that into the computer. It will show you what that motor is going to do before you make any cuts at all. Now, is it dead nuts? No, but it's probably within 5%. So, just showing you another way to skin a cat. And trying to save some people some aggravation with these numbers. Everybody, the degree wheel, and you got to have these numbers. It's the only way you can do it. Well, maybe that's the only way you can do it. Because like I said, there's guys that could take any saw out there that they've built before. They know what they need to do on the intake and carburetor. They know what they need to do on the exhaust. And they come in here and they flow port the cylinder, put it back together, and it's going to run like a raped ape. Guaranteed. Guaranteed. All right, kids.